Well, we are absolutely delighted to kick off the second day of our Innovation Challenge with the mighty IndyGo. Okay, and IndyGo is Indianapolis Transportation Authority. And we're just delighted because both of their team members are going to be addressing this morning specific examples of IndyGo's equitable practices to ensure agency diversity and exposure. And we really want to start to just thank IndyGo so much. Okay, their president, Inez Evans, is just a remarkable leader. I'm not even going to begin to talk about, I'll just say a couple of her most recent national awards, the Compto Women who lead the nation, and then of course her recognition as one of the top leaders by the Women's Transportation Seminar International. And I've had the pleasure of knowing President Evans for probably about 20 years. She worked with me actually in Atlanta and Martin, so it's just been amazing. She's always been a star. And then I've had the pleasure of your head of workforce development, who's with us here today and has been a strong member of our program advisory committee, Ibrahim Ouattara, and we're absolutely delighted to have him here with the IndyGo team. So now let me move into this IndyGo team, okay? First, we're joined by Grace Olson. Grace is a graduate student at Indiana University in Indianapolis. And I told him I was going to show a little of my Indy, and that is ooey pooey, okay, earning her master's of public affairs with a concentration in environmental policy and sustainability. Grace worked with IndyGo as part of the Peterson Fellowship and a partnership with the Ooey Pooey O'Neill School, where she served at different public organizations. After completing her degree, Grace hopes to pursue a career in public service to influence real world change. And when not studying, Grace enjoys biking, reading, and watching movies. Oh, Grace, it's a pleasure to have you here with us today. And then our next team member from IndyGo is Jennifer Tercey. Jennifer is a graduate student in the Paul O'Neill School of Public Environmental Affairs at Indiana University in the Criminal Justice and Public Safety program. A certified researcher, Jennifer has placed significant focus on juvenile recidivism and how mitigating factors play a role in criminal behavior. She is the first criminal justice major to be awarded the Peterson Fellowship through her graduate program. And I want to make note that the Peterson Fellowship is really a tremendous honor. And it is of course, you have to be smart, you have to be all of that, but there's also the focus on the commitment to public service. And so she's the first in her program, her graduate program, to receive that additional honor. Through her work as a criminal defense paralegal and in reentry services, Jennifer has conducted mitigation interviews, studied pre-sentence investigative reports, and interviewed justice involved individuals on their experiences with the justice system with a very specific interest in their background and in their childhood experience. Jennifer serves as a court-appointed special advocate with Kids Voice of Indiana. She's a volunteer coach with Athlete Indy, a youth track and field program, and watch out, is a 5th degree Black belt in Taekwondo, where she has taught youth in her community for the better part of 18 years. So it gives me great pleasure at this point to turn it to the IndyGo 3-minute overview. Take it away, IndyGo.
Hi, my name is Grace Olson, and I'm a graduate student at the Indiana University Purdue University Indianapolis campus, getting my Master's of Public Affairs in Environmental Policy and Sustainability.
And my name is Jenny Tercey, and I am pursuing a Master of Science in Criminal Justice and Public Safety.
We're working at IndyGo through the Peterson Fellowship, and our projects are both emphasizing inclusivity through removing barriers. For a diverse community, language inclusivity is necessary. So in my time with IndyGo, I've performed a review of different transit agencies to inform IndyGo on how to better engage with and serve our diverse community through language inclusivity efforts.
And we can further that diversity through a second chance program by engaging justice involved youth through community-based programs. This is to provide equitable access to youth through opportunities in the transit sector. So research shows that when youth feel connected to their communities, they are less likely to reoffend or engage in delinquent behavior. So through this program, we are making communities and families stronger by opening the door to economic resources that would otherwise be closed.
We're transforming the transit industry, and we're starting with IndyGo.
All right. Thank you so much, IndyGo team. The floor is yours, and you may now share your screen.
Okay, so just check in that my screen is visible for everyone.
Yep, everything looks good.
Perfect. So as previously mentioned, my partner Jenny and I will be discussing equitable practices to ensure agency diversity and exposure. So just as an overview, I'll be starting with the limited English populations and strategies to improve inclusivity efforts, and then Jenny will cover second chance hiring initiatives. So overall, limited English populations are populations that have long since been kind of brushed under the rug as far as transit agencies go and serving them. So to inform IndyGo of better practices, I started with a multi-agency LEP strategy review. So I looked at 20 different agencies from all over the country, all of similar sizes that kind of mimic Indianapolis. So these include some agencies that are actually participating in this challenge as well. So to determine language agency needs, I took the top 2 language groups needed per their agency's LEP plan. So Spanish is by far the most common LEP need, with all agencies providing Spanish translations. And Asian and Pacific Islander languages are the second most common need, with Indo-European languages being the third most common. So that's that pie chart on the left-hand side of your screen. The most common LEP strategy used was the translation of vital public documents and media releases. Other LEP strategies are mostly equal, with a reliance on bilingual employees, contracted out language assistants, translation and interpretation, language identification cards, and just staff training on LEP strategies. What I'm most concerned with are the strategies that no one else was really mimicking. So these are what I deemed as the standout strategies in my review of LEP plans. So these include a language directory of all bilingual employees that can be easily contacted if language assistance is needed by anyone within the agency, destination cards and picture books, translated direct mailers. These are not just translations that are available upon request or online. It's having it physically available and readily available. And lastly, the multilingual ticket vending machines, including extra accessibility measures such as Braille translations. So what can IndyGo do to better serve LEPs using these standout strategies? So for employees at the time of my fellowship, there was no specific LEP orientation training or orientation materials. So HR was in the process of converting these current operator new hire materials into online formats with the opportunity to translate into other languages. But this is a critical first step. Providing detailed LEP strategy training as well as translated orientation documents would provide a more inclusive environment for English-speaking and LEP employees alike. So specific strategies such as the LA Metro provide translated materials as well as offers additional assistance going through training for new employees. So this model is a potential route for IndyGo to try and encourage more ESL candidates to work for IndyGo. Other agencies have produced digital Spanish handbooks to provide employees with English as their first language basic Spanish skills. So this could be a potential route for inclusion efforts, but requires resources to develop. Altogether, most agencies do the bare minimum, and the true next steps would be to do more than the minimum and mimic the agencies that are doing extra for LEP persons. So this could be creating a directory of bilingual employees to provide the interpretation services if needed. Visual destination cards or picture books, such as other agencies have produced, could be a good resource to provide to organizations such as Indianapolis's Immigrant Welcome Center to aid LEP individuals that may be coming into the States for the first time. And lastly, the translation of more documents from the start and not just having them by request. So this would include translated signage on all of the buses and media releases in IndyGo facilities. So this would set IndyGo apart from other transit agencies, as most have translated documents and media resources available, but only by request. So other agencies have produced brochures about translation and interpretation services, and this could be a possible route to publicize the services available while also saving some of the money required to create twice the signage and media releases. So to continue on, to remove the intimidation that an LEP individual may experience when approaching someone who may not appear to be bilingual, steps can be taken to make bilingual employees more identifiable. So one possibility is through a name tag add-on that clearly identifies the languages spoken. And to assess the quality of LEP efforts, IndyGo should create and uphold partnerships with community organizations such as the previously mentioned Immigrant Welcome Center. So the IWC would be able to accurately assess the status of inclusivity efforts for LEPs, as well as provide recommendations specifically from the perspective of an immigrant coming into Indianapolis. And lastly, the utilization of pre-existing programs such as IndyGo's travel training or transit ambassador program is a cost-effective way to do more good for LEP individuals as it utilizes volunteers. So these programs can provide opportunities to support LEP individuals in understanding the IndyGo system and the process of using our buses.
And I'm going to discuss how IndyGo promotes equitable opportunities and sustainability in the transit sector through their Second Chance Hiring Initiative. So a criminal record is a hurdle that prevents people from obtaining employment and housing. Access to resources like income, housing, and social mobility are conditioning factors that contribute to criminal activity. An IndyGo Second Chance program hires people with a criminal record, which expands the workforce and increases retention. So eliminating this employment barrier generates economic stability and decreases the probability of reoffending. So IndyGo can ensure that equitable opportunities are extended to members of the community by identifying community partners that assist justice-involved youth between the ages of 18 to 25. So these community organizations on the left, they receive referrals from criminal justice agencies that are focused on building foundational skills and connecting the youth they serve to services that they otherwise would not have access to, including workforce opportunities. So a 2021 study did a comprehensive analysis on segregated neighborhoods, and it showed that residents in these neighborhoods have lower earning potential than their peers and higher rates of crime due to poverty and mobility issues. IndyGo's relationship with these organizations allow them access to a community they otherwise would not be able to reach through traditional recruiting methods. Okay, so everyone has a different background and experience, which creates a diverse workforce, and different skill sets lets organizations thrive. So the Second Chance program and partnership with community organizations provides opportunities in those who have historically been left out. Studies have shown that people who have a stake in the community are less likely to engage in criminal behavior. And this is why community-based programs specifically focused on juvenile offenders are successful, especially in Marion County. The juvenile justice programs have shown to be successful because they are focused on community-based opportunities. And so when people are giving back to their community, they are more likely to stay in their positions, and it reduces the probability of reoffending. All right, and lastly, so this is why it's important to extend opportunities to those who have previously been incarcerated or involved in the justice system. So economic stability and mobility can further reduce intergenerational involvement in the justice system because families now have access to essential resources. Thanks, everyone.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So we're going to reset the timer here, and we're going to open up a Q&A portion from our judges. Leslie, if you go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Trey, and good morning, everyone. I'm Leslie Rogers, greeting you from San Francisco. I have been in transit for over 40 years. I was formerly the regional administrator for the Federal Transit Administration's office in San Francisco. And now I'm doing a little light consulting. I'm especially honored to serve as the chair of the judging panel, and I'm joined by 4 distinguished colleagues who will pose questions if they so desire, and I'll give a brief introduction to them. And we will start with my colleague, Andrew Brennan from Boston, where he serves as a vice president with the firm HNTB. There he's engaged in their national transit and rail practice. Good morning, Andrew. Any questions?
Good morning, Leslie. Thank you very much. Really interesting presentations. Like Leslie, I've spent a career in transit and a long time at a transit agency. And these are definitely issues that transit agencies, I think, would like to take on and would like to do, but how do you do it? So I actually have a bunch of questions, but I'll try to stick to one. I'm particularly interested on this second chance opportunity pieces. A lot of the transit agency jobs are very federally regulated, and understanding that all state laws are different. Are you aware of any are there certain criminal activities or justice activities that would prevent someone from actually becoming a bus operator? I mean, how much leeway does an agency actually have here?
Hi, Andrew. Yes, thank you for your question. I would defer as far as what IndyGo specifically, what would prevent them from hiring someone. I would defer those questions to Ibrahim. What I know from what Ibrahim has shared with me is that those who have been convicted of a sex offense are not permitted employment. Through conversations with IndyGo's operations director, those who have been convicted of theft are not able to be in positions where they are handling money. When I worked in reentry, I did criminal record expungement. Indiana actually has a pretty liberal expungement statute, and people who are convicted of felonies are able to expunge the record. So except if felony convictions besides murder or any offense that resulted in the loss of life is able to be expunged, in addition to felonies that involve a firearm. But all that to say is that when I worked in reentry, a lot of people came in seeking criminal record expungement because they wanted to get their CDL, but they weren't able to go get into trucking school because they had a criminal record. But IndyGo's Second Chance program actually will bring these people on, and they pay them to go through training and to get their CDL. And then, and I know just from my experience working with these individuals, you could just see the relief just lift off of your chest. And it was a really good experience.
The reason I ask it was, I don't know, 3-4 months ago when the Biden-Harris administration pardoned, or I don't know what the right word is, but people with federal marijuana convictions, and they expunged them. And I thought, okay, that opens up a big opportunity for bus operators, right? That was a hurdle. Unfortunately, people with state convictions, it's state by state. And so I just wondered, how many types of convictions are actually preventing someone from getting, and with Indy, is there generally a requirement that you have completed both your sentence and your probation period, or what's the window?
I can chime in. Thank you for the question, by the way. As an agency, what we focus on is case by case issues. Being federally mandated and regulated, we have a second chance committee that actually review the job seekers or the offend or the law involved individual background to see how long it has been, the type of offense, and who the person is, the recidivism rate. Then we make the decisions based on those
Case by case.
outcome. But there are certain type of crime that are, for example, individuals who are prohibited to be around kids, in a crowd, around schools, around the public. We definitely will want to make sure we are exposing not only the public, but also the agency, and also following the federal rules and guidelines. If that gives an answer to the
Yes,
question.
yes, thank you, thank you.
I want to keep us moving along here. Thank
Sorry, I
you.
went over.
Oh, no problem, no problem. We'll hear from our next judge, is Alicia Kane, and she's with Cubic Transportation Solutions, and there she heads UMO Solutions and Market Development. Alicia, good morning.
Good morning and good morning, everyone. Great presentation. Thank you. This is languages in transit tend to be barriers that don't really get good coverage as far as ensuring that everyone has access to transportation. And so you've done a good job in pulling out some information related to the different agencies. And what I want to understand is from you said you worked with 20 agencies, looked at their and reviewed their LEP plans. And what are some of the barriers for some of the agencies, the 20 agencies and the others, to instituting inclusive language options? Is it work? I mean, is it lack of like workforce or technology? What are some of the areas that you're seeing could be improved across agencies as a whole?
Yeah, of course. I really appreciate your question. The biggest barrier that I found that is also a huge one for IndyGo was just the financial resources. Because whenever specifically, if you're looking in the Midwest, there's not a lot of natural language diversity for the area. So there is a lack of knowledge regarding translation, and also the funds that could be used to contract those people who have the ability to easily translate. So financial barriers are the most frequent one that you find. Other ones are just a lack of recognition of the need when you're looking at specific agencies, they just don't. If you're looking at the language breakdown for the area, you may only see that 4% of the population needs this translation. So it's easy to say, oh, it's only 4%. We don't really need to provide that translation, but that is 4% of potential riders. And they are likely in a community that may need the ability to ride the bus and have this form of transportation that is at a low cost and convenient for them. So it's really the financial barrier, and the just the lack of, I guess, desire to include these populations that may not have current translation services.
Okay, all right, thank you.
We'll hear from our next judge, Julia Gessner, from TransDev US, where she serves as the Director of Administration, and she's in sizzling Dallas. So good morning.
Well, good morning. Thank you guys for this presentation. I think you hit two really key areas that you tied together very well. One of the things that I wanted to ask about, and this is kind of a minor detail that was in your abstract, but you talked about the language plans having a legal requirement for the legal requirement within the agency's plan. Can you talk a little bit more about what that exactly means? Does that mean that they're we'll just talk about more about what that means. I wasn't totally sure.
Yeah, of course, I'd be happy to. So the federal government does require public transit agencies to perform a review of the language needs for a specific area. And if the number of population or the percent is above a certain threshold that they set, then agencies are required to provide translated services. So translated media release, translated public documents, etc. But it's the populations that are maybe lower than the threshold that are repeatedly left out. So for example, Indianapolis has a large Sikh population. Yes, Jenny, the Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. Indianapolis has a large Sikh population that is below the legal threshold that requires translation, but it is still a large community that would benefit from translation, as there are a lot of first generation immigrants into the area. So my specific project was looking at ways to provide these populations that may not federally be required to have translated documents, but how do you still include them in language needs and services?
Thank you, Grace. And moving us right along, we'll hear from our next judge, Greer Johnson Gillis, with the Jacksonville Transportation Authority, where she's a senior vice president, chief infrastructure and development officer. Greer.
Good morning, Leslie. Thank you. And good morning, Grace and Jenny. Thank you for your presentation. Those are actually two hot topics that many transit agencies are facing, just as you mentioned in your presentation. Here's my question for both of you. I love the way you've laid out, here's what IndyGo can do with regards to LEP and doing just beyond the minimum, especially reaching out to many of the communities. And I love how you said this is what they can do for second chance citizens, giving them the opportunity really to have upward mobility and a future by means of being an IndyGo. Love those two. Question for you, how are you connecting them? How are you going to ensure that what you're doing here comes together in a holistic initiative to solve both of these problems?
Yeah, of course. That's a great question. Overall, both of our kind of themes here of second chance hiring initiatives, as well as the inclusion of peoples with English as their second language, it's just strategies to improve the diversity of our agency, as well as the way we can better serve the population. So by historically leaving out certain aspects of the Indianapolis community, we are not serving them to the level that they deserve as a city. So by hiring individuals and giving them a second chance for upward mobility, as well as improving strategies in hiring candidates that may not have a full understanding of the English language, and serving these communities that have English as their second language. It's just different ways to improve our agency exposure and diversity to mimic the city that we are trying to serve to the best capacity as we can.
Two quick questions from me. First, Jenny, I heard Grace where she did the research of 20 agencies for comparative analysis. Did you do similar work for second chance programs? As I believe the CTA in Chicago has that sort of program. So what was your approach there?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I did not do a similar project to Grace, but in that aspect, but I have done numerous research studies on second chances and how barriers that are presented to individuals who have been involved in the justice system, how it has impacted their life and how it has impacted generations. So just a compilation of research studies that I have done throughout my graduate program. I just kind of brought it all together.
Okay, and my final question, did you all undertake any sort of a guesstimate, for lack of a better term, any sort of cost proposals, the associated cost to implement, say, the language inclusivity effort and the second chance initiative?
I did not do any cost estimation for it, but I will say in IndyGo's most recent Title VI update, they have taken some of the strategies that I presented to their service committee and implemented them for future use to better serve and include communities here in Indianapolis.
And Jenny, on your side, any cost estimation for the Second Chance Initiative?
I have not done a cost estimation. The Second Chance program is already an existing program at IndyGo, so I did not do one.
Great. Well, thank you all so very much. And as we've done with every team, we afford you about 2.5 minutes for a wrap up and closing remarks, if you will. Go ahead, Grace.
Yeah, I think I'll just speak as a thank you to the panel of judges here, as well as the entire IYAI team for the opportunity for us to present our work here that we did through the Peterson Fellowship. It's great to be on such a platform and to see a collection of such esteemed people in this industry. We both thoroughly believe that the work we are completing is very important and critical to succeed as an agency in ensuring diversity for the area. So just getting the opportunity to present it on a scale such as this one, we appreciate it a lot. Jenny, if you have anything else to add.
Yes, thank you, Grace. Just to piggyback off of what Grace said, as students who are involved in giving back to the community and to work in public service, it is an honor and a privilege to present in front of you. And I do greatly appreciate your time and your work on putting this together. And it has been a really great experience working with Grace and Ibrahim and working on this project, and just an honor to present in front of all of you. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jenny and Grace and Ibrahim, especially for sharing your Sunday with us. So with that, we'll turn it over. We'll give it back to Dr. Scott to close us out.
Leslie, judges, I think I don't have anything further to say. I think that this team just knocked it out of the ballpark. Very practical, real hands-on, just really very, very thoughtful. And thank you so much for your participation in the program. Thank you. Thank you. And that's not the last you'll be hearing from us.
I just want to say thank you, if I may add, for the entire IA community, and to answer some questions, sir, Leslie, it's just the cost of these programs are zero to IndyGo. The perfect example is, for example, myself, I speak 5 international languages, and working at IndyGo in the HR division, I was able to assist individuals who comes in and out, and some of our workforce or staff, and help them out with whatever language they speak. So to answer the question, it's zero. And for the language also, we are looking into implementing software that can actually include international languages digitally. Then you just click, for example, for the fare issues, they can just change the languages and move forward with that. So to conclude, thank you, and we appreciate the opportunity. This recording will be shared with our leadership along with the presentations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Very wonderful. With that, we're going to end up. Appreciate everybody's time today. Enjoy your Sunday, and we'll see you judges back here at the top of the hour. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Grace,
Thank you all.
Denny, Ibrahim.